Hey there, Trekkies and Trekkers. My name is Michael, aka the Trek Lad, and welcome back to another week of Let's Talk About Lower Decks. This week's episode, trying really hard to actually read this one out properly, and I'll explain why in a minute. Terminal Provocations is this week's episode number 6 of Lower Decks. We are past the halfway point now, and we are pretty much on that home stretch. 10 episodes in this first season run, don't forget. Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining. If you're watching this live, please feel free to get involved in the live chat. Let us know what you thought of Terminal Provocations. If you're watching this on repeat, hello. Please let me know what you thought of the episode using the comments below. Please also feel free to like this video, share it with your friends, family, and badgies. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We do this every single week. Right. Housekeeping out the way. Let's get into this one because there's a lot to talk about, a lot of interesting moments, a lot of great moments. I'm joined by 4 people this week, more than the usual 3, because I just want to squeeze as much goodness as I possibly can from the Star Trek community. I'm feeling greedy today. We've got a lovely mix of people from Ireland, the States, and little old me in the UK today. So at this time, let's welcome my guests in no particular order. Please welcome Stevie Lee, Caleb, Sean Ferrick, and the Commodore Dan Decker. How are we all doing?
Great.
Doing pretty good.
Doing all right.
Awesome. Well, guys, welcome. Stevie Lee, Caleb, first time here on Let's Talk About Lower Decks, first time here on the live stream channel, but hopefully the first of many. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming on board today. The Commodore Dan Decker, furniture
I
at
live
this
here.
point, really. Furniture. He lives here on this channel. And representing Trek culture, the meaty Sean Ferrick. Guys, Terminal Provocations. Now, right, so I was saying to Stevie Lee and Caleb before we came on, I keep getting this mixed up. I keep calling it Temporal Provocation. And then Caleb just put a little seed in my brain as soon as we went live. I was like, oh, I can't, because I was going to say Terminal Edict. And they're really getting us on some of these episode titles. But these episode titles are very classic TNG-esque, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm loving them. I am absolutely loving them. Right. Let's for those who, right, before we do get going, one piece of housekeeping that I did leave out. If you have not seen the episode Terminal Provocations, F off. I mean that in the nicest way. I mean this in the nicest way possible.
Why are you here? If that's the case.
Absolutely heavy spoiler warning.
Shields up, red alert.
Absolutely.
I mean, honestly, Michael, if they're new here, I am so sorry. So sorry.
Well, I mean, this is going to be better behaved than our Star Trek Day live chat for sure. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be breaking down the episode. We're going to be talking about Terminal Provocations. If you have not seen the episode, highly recommend you go and watch it. I think it's probably going to be, of these 6 episodes, it's the most meme-worthy. It's the one that's going to open the floodgates of merchandise sales, and we'll get onto that character for sure. We've got our own little special section dedicated to Darling Badgie. But let's go around the room. Let's get our first thoughts. Stevie Lee, what did you think of Terminal Provocations? Not Temporal Provocations, Terminal Provocations.
I thought it was a really great episode. So far, I mean, all the episodes for me have been really solid. I really liked both the plots in this one, both the A plot and the B plot. I really liked how Mariner was saying, we're Starfleet, we stick together. This was that to me was just the emphasis that to me was just a cherry on the cake. I don't know. I just spent like 2 hours outside in Florida, so I'm sorry if I don't make any sense. But I mean, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed her saying, look, I break the rules, but only when I know I can get away with it. Only when they're stupid. And I just love that. I love that she clarified that little bit. And of course, all the throwaway lines and everything. And of course, of course, we got Rutherford and Badgie. So, I mean, I really identify with Rutherford, even though when it comes to work, I can be a little bit of a mariner.
There's nothing wrong with being a mariner. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, she's picked up a bit of flack from people that just have a vendetta against the show. She's a wild card. She's a loose cannon, but she's a lot of fun. And I think we're really starting to love her quite a lot, as we are with pretty much everybody on the show, maybe with the exception of Fletcher. But we'll get on to him later on. Caleb, school teacher, you raced home from school. Thank you very much for doing that. I did it. There we go. I went to say Terminal Provocations. What did you think about it, sir?
I really liked it. I actually thought it's probably the funniest episode I've laughed at so far. There were the most like out loud laughs for me in this one. I agree with Stevie that we definitely needed this moment for Mariner's character because she wasn't really grounded much, and it was a good grounding opportunity for her. But I absolutely loved the whole Rutherford, Tendi, and Badgie plot of the episode. I think that was the strong point for sure.
Oh, we're definitely going to get onto that for sure. Commodore, thoughts on Terminal Provocations, sir? What did you think about this week's episode?
Well, I got in orders this just today that I was being assigned as commandant of Starbase 80. I don't know what that's all about.
Oh, no!
I don't know what that's all about, but no, this felt like last week felt like we had hit stride. This felt like a comfortable episode of Star Trek. Again, reinforcing that I think this is, aside from TOS, maybe the strongest first season we've seen. Again, with the they've got a lot to draw from. And they're the first people to do a show like this. So, of course, they've got, I think they have more to work with than any previous show has, which is amazing. That's really I do like the way they, as you said, Caleb, grounded Mariner and Stevie Lee. I think we can both agree that Mariner's the person who just took the test and never did the homework. And their excuse was, well, I aced your test, so why do I have to do your homework?
And that's getting a little too close to home. So,
Yep. A lot of discussions with teachers, Caleb, in high school about that kind of attitude.
I'm never going to need this.
Exactly.
But you never got the Vulcan. You never got the sarcastic Vulcan salute, though. That's the thing. You never.
It's true.
It's the Starfleet thing. It's the Starfleet thing. There you go. Sean Ferrick, you've taken some time away from Trek cultures, ups and downs, and Easter eggs. You're a very busy man now, so thank you very much for coming and gracing us with your presence, sir. Thank you.
Not at all.
What were your thoughts?
Well, I hated it. Much like every other episode this season, and in fact Star Trek as a whole. I actually thought this is the most solid episode of the season so far. That's what I felt from start to finish. It had every other episode, which I've really enjoyed, has either been heavy on the comedy they've all been heavy on the comedy. This had the most character moments. This had the most, I think the Commodore said it very well. This was a solid episode of Star Trek, and I was saying earlier on that I felt that this had less laugh out loud moments than last week, but I thought it was a better episode than last week.
Yes. It's I hadn't really thought about it in the context of season quality and stacking it up. I don't know if this is my favorite episode of the season. Admittedly, the one thing that I do have to admit this week is I was very late watching Terminal Provocations. Usually, as soon as I know the episode drops, I access my VPN, access my CBS All Access account that I've gone and paid for, by the way, and watch the episode. And but I didn't do that this week. I only watched it this morning. And by this morning, I'd already seen loads of references to Badgie, and he was everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere. So I do have to kind of spare a thought for some of the people, well, anybody internationally who hasn't decided to, pay double essentially for CBS All Access, because it's spoilerific right now, and it is very, very frustrating that we are 6 episodes in. We're probably going to finish this entire run. There's going to be no international distribution. Concerning, but a conversation perhaps for another time. We're here to have a good time, talk about Star Trek that we did like. But yeah, I mean, I think the balance of this show was absolutely perfect. I mean, one of the things that we've been saying the last few weeks is that we'd love to see more Rutherford. We'd love to see Tendi. We'd like to see those guys get like the A slice of the episode, and I really think that they did. In fact, I actually, and this is going to be a potential controversial thought here, is that I actually think that Boimler and Mariner, they were actually the C part of the story, because I was really invested in what was going on the bridge with the long-suffering security chief Shax. I think that this was his standout episode, and of all of the episodes, I will say, in terms of pure comedy, this one ticked the box. This got me belly laughing. This got me and like just thinking back about some of the things that he was saying, like, "Oh, can I fire torpedoes? I've been really good this month." Just absolutely fantastic, and also perfectly voice acted as well. This really gruff. I mean, he's essentially Lower Decks' Worf, just being denied all the bloody time. Mariner and Boimler probably is the B story, and Shax is the C, but in my heart, Shax is B+ for sure. Guys, let's the spoilerific part, the part, and I did this a lot last week. I'm just going to do it again for anybody who is late to the show. I do want to say quickly before we do get into the Badgie conversation, I do want to just quickly say hello to anybody who is watching this live. So those freaking aliens are going to frame me. What a great name! Rob Chapman, Galactic Dave, sorry, Joseph Petrick, Brian Pendley, Botrek, hello again, sir, and Penny popped over to say hello Penny, thank you very much. And yes, absolutely, that's not the one, that's not the message. Trek Lad showing up in my YouTube Rex all the time these days. Yeah, of course, I just do live streams too much now, maybe, I don't know. But guys, welcome, thank you very much for joining, and if you're watching this on repeat, thank you for joining. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Badgie, who wants to go first? Let's just get into it. Commodore.
Yeah. So a couple things. I want to just give you a bit of trivia. Your favorite man, Shax. First of all, as soon as it opened with security officer's log, I immediately thought of you, Michael, because of your love for this character. He's voiced by Fred Tascacori, who is most famous usually for voicing the Hulk in his various Avengers instances in the Disney XD timeline. So yeah, he's got that beefy voice. But yeah, Badgie, as soon as he showed up, I was like, oh, he's gonna be evil. and Rutherford, we've all wanted to do that to Clippy at some point. But Rutherford took it a little harsh. I mean, he was kneeing him right in the gut. I was like, oh man, and just calling him glitchy. And as someone in tech support, I hate that word so much. So I feel with Badgie on that point.
Don't blame the user, blame the problem, right?
For sure. Well, I have another confession. I feel like this is going to be Trek Lad confessional here. Is and I'm sure other people have. In fact, I need to show you quickly. This is evidence of just me being a horrible person. Do you see? I'm actually missing a part of my keyboard. I am prone to fits of rage with my tech. I have to assemble this keyboard on almost a weekly basis. And it was the moment when Rutherford grabs Badgie and why are you so glitchy? And on all this kind of stuff. It's literally the equivalent of us hitting escape all the time or Control-Alt-Delete and just slamming our keyboard trying to get things to work. And we've all been there. But this is the first time we've seen Rutherford have a bit of a moment where his patience is being tested.
Or he's not got on with technology. Normally he's much happier with technology than he is with people.
Yeah, yeah.
And
but this is also something of his own creation.
Yeah, and I also think that
shut up, Commodore. What's that, Stevie Lee?
I'll get a word in edgewise, I promise. I think it's also, again, once seeing the episode and then looking back, he really wanted it to be good for Tendi. It's kind of like, look what I've done here. I've done this amazing thing, and now it's not working. Like if I was trying to impress someone, trying to make them think I'm cool, and the program I built is, crashing, I'd be like, come on, percussive maintenance time.
Caleb, thoughts on Badgie?
I really liked Badgie. Honestly, I know there's already the parallels to Clippy, but this particular episode, especially because of Badgie, felt the most Rick and Morty influence to me. That's such a standout character. It reminded me kind of like the whole Pickle Rick thing, and just maybe a tad more, about the same level of violence, I guess, as Pickle Rick. But yeah, I really appreciated what Rutherford was trying to do there, and I even loved the moment where their magnetic boots got stuck together. I thought that was a great little pause from the madness of Badgie. But I'm excited for that relationship. I think it's going to happen.
So yeah, I mean, this was something that we actually said last week, Commodore, didn't we? We were kind of talking about relationships in Lower Decks, and I'm still of the opinion that we don't need romances in Lower Decks. If we're going to get one, let's just have one. And I think that they've really kind of nailed the flag to the mast. Rutherford has a bit of a crush on Tendi. I think we could have we guessed that pretty much from episode 1, really, didn't we? Rutherford and Tendi. It's an interesting dynamic. I don't know necessarily, because I quite like the idea of some platonic relationships really, and them just being friends. But if they're going to go down the relationship route, they do make a cute couple, right? They are tailor made for husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend cosplay couples.
That's true. Yeah. Well, they're a good foil for each other. They're kind of a good balance. Tendi's got a little bit more people skills than Rutherford does, and Rutherford's got more, say, technical know-how than Tendi does. And I would watch a show of just them for whether it's one episode or another spin-off show. Kurtzman's eye just twitched as I said that. But I'm really, really enjoying their relationship together.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I do enjoy their dynamic, but Tendi just gets on my nerves. I mean, I think she needs to tone it down a little bit. I mean, I get it. Tendi is supposed to represent us, the fans getting on board the ship and, oh my gosh, we're so cool. I would be freaking out too. I'd probably be more like Boimler, but I'd probably, but Tendi, I think, just needs to tone it down just a little bit. I think she's a little too she's a little kind of like a chihuahua to me, like an overexcitable chihuahua. I think she's adorable. I think she just needs to take it down a couple notches.
It is, yeah, I think it's a fair point. I mean, I kind of liken it to the fact, I mean, from our perspective, we've had 6 weeks of Lower Decks, but, I like to always go with the theory that 1 season equals 1 year. Let's say that we're 5-6 months into Lower Decks into her tenure on the Cerritos now. It's like when you start a new job. When you start a new job, you walk in for the first day. I mean, hopefully everybody has this. I mean, it'd be horrible if you walk into a job for the first day and you're just like, but everybody walks into their job for the first time on the first day and they're like, and super stoked. Tendi was like super stoked when she gets onto the Cerritos. Kind of understandable for the first 2 or 3 episodes maybe, and then you get to that point in your job in the real world where we kind of just start getting a little bit like it all becomes normal. We get a little jaded. We realize that Karen over there is just not to be trusted. We don't really like Nathan. And it's just it kind of normalizes, doesn't it? It kind of loses its luster. The honeymoon period wears off. Like what's going to happen with Sean at What Culture?
Not a chance. No. My job is writing about Star Trek. Listen, if I don't like this, there is no job out there that will be enjoyed. But you maybe said something funny there, Michael, when you were saying you hope that everyone on their first day walks in and they're like, yeah, and I just got a picture of an Undertaker. on their very first day starting work. Yay, I'm here and it's a busy day. Sir, that's the wrong thing to be excited about. No.
Can you imagine can you imagine Tendi as an Undertaker here? Who are we burning today?
Yes.
Woo!
Well, technically, I mean, she did work in medical. You know, she did work with
that's true.
doctors. You know, so I mean, she, especially when they were having that zombie outbreak. So
squeeze his heart. Okay, yeah, I love it.
I gotta say though that I say, other than the fact that she was in the story, though, she didn't have a lot to do. She was there to be Rutherford's motivation and a reason for him to, something to protect, which is, at least I don't remember her doing a lot this episode.
Yeah.
Other than being there, which is, I mean, it's okay, I guess. Not everybody gets to do everything in every episode, but it just felt a little trod already with that.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen that before. It's, ultimately they were in the position that they were in because she needed that 0G training or that spacewalking training and things like that. So essentially sets the wheels in motion. I mean, yeah, I don't feel like she was ever, treated like a damsel in distress or considered to be kind of, out of her depth, and Rutherford needed to kind of step in and save her. It was treated more as a Rutherford fighting his creation and that kind of father-son dynamic and things like that. But it's definitely an interesting thing. I want Tendi to have. I mean, we've seen her a couple of episodes ago with the koala.
Yes, the koala of the universe.
The koala of the universe.
All hail the koala.
The transcendence. And yeah, so she got that moment. I would like to see more Tendi. I do take your point on Stevie that I think that they could probably dial it down a little bit, but again, I guess it's kind of she's always going to be a little kind of hyperactive, and because it's this wonderment and the Star Trek universe and all that kind of stuff. That's right. So Commodore's gonna get me on this. I think Sean might nod a little bit as well. But in previous episodes, like, my long-standing complaint has been a being troubled at the show's tone and the kind of lack of edgy material. I have now been shut up. I would say that this definitely earns its TV 14 rating. And that's definitely a thing when you're seeing Bajorans being ripped apart by a evil, out of control Trek holodeck
badge of literal hope.
Literal badge of hope is tearing Bajorans to pieces.
Give us more of that. Give us the Occupation series we never got, guys. That's what we want.
Oh boy.
I was just like, it'd be really good if we got some edginess in this episode. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. Lots of bleeping swears as well in this episode. It really, I mean, Caleb, you said it. This felt probably like the most Rick and Morty-esque. And when I say Rick and Morty, I mean just the most kind of young adult animated episode of the season so far. We do still have 3 episodes to go, but yeah, it definitely earned its TV 14. Stevie, you said before coming on air, how did you feel about that?
I'm not really big into violence, even if it's like cartoony, I guess. I mean, I guess I kind of, like, as soon as that happened, I was kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? This is a little too much for me. But I going back, I guess that is kind of like the Rick and Mortiness of it all. It's like I just learned to accept swearing, even if it's bleeped. So I'm like, okay, I can accept this. And it took me a little while because, and this is a lot of the criticism that I've seen. Star Trek is supposed to be this utopia. It's supposed to be everything's perfect, everything's good. My response to that is just, how can you keep that up? There's got to be a creek. There's got to be a crack somewhere. I mean, even in our best days when we're at work, even at my job, even we start swearing, and we're supposed to, you're the librarians, you're supposed to be all sweet. And no, we cuss out the sorter all the time. But
trade secrets.
So so it's like, okay, I can understand this. Okay, so it took me a little bit of time to be like, okay, but the violence is still a little much for me. It was the case with Discovery. It was the case with, Picard with that one scene we all know. And so this kind of caught me off guard, but on the same token, it's also cartoony, but it's a little too realistic. So, I mean, this is just me. If somebody likes it, then that's their thing. But me personally, I just thought it was a little bit much.
Caleb, what were your thoughts on the depiction of violence in this episode?
So, like I said, I'm a Rick and Morty fan, so I was, I guess, mentally prepared for it happening at some point. But it is still jarring for sure when it shows up. But there are still episodes going back to the Berman era that also have equal amounts of, gore and graphic violence and things like that. It's just, it seemed like those moments were very purposeful back in the Berman era, and I still think this was purposeful for the part of the story. They had to go through this whole arc with Badgie in order to what did they end up launching at the Drukmani ship? I forget, but the whole
it was the core.
That's what it was.
One of the cores that they were cleaning, and it assimilated the guys. He tried to get smarter from it, and it absorbed, I guess, for lack of a better word, his personality and the lacking personality.
Right, but it seemed like all the stories were still connected in a way in this episode, so it still seemed purposeful. But yeah, no, I understand that it was a lot in the moment for sure.
Commodore Sean, any thoughts to add to Stevie Lee and Caleb's?
I think I was fine with the violence of it, in the fact that it was, I think, Caleb, to kind of agree with yourself, I get the Rick and Morty-esque of it, particularly in this episode, and the violence didn't bother me so much probably because it's cartoon violence. Whereas if, say, we were watching an episode of Discovery and we saw Bajoran get their head torn off, I think that would probably stand out a wee bit more. I say that now. Episode 1, Season 3, watch it, and I called it first. But
and you're getting my therapy bill. If that happens, you're getting my therapy bill. I'm just saying that right now.
You can catch me in England. Is where you'll find me. Yeah.
I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing. Yeah. Commodore, any closing remarks on the Bajoran terrorism that we saw in this episode?
I'm with Sean. I'm not a fan of gratuitous violence, and I mean that's up to the viewer to determine what is and isn't gratuitous, I think. But this is cartoon violence. It was for effect, humorous effect, and I laughed. But to that point, I laughed. To that point, we've talked before about the words they choose and choose not to bleep. And I was listening to another podcast, surprise, surprise. It's the Vulcan Hello. And they talked about how the bleeps themselves are funny because it lets you fill in the blank, right? It's supposed to be a mature show and it has a particular rating, but hearing the cum filters in the holodeck is not as funny as you putting that in your brain when you bleep it out, right?
I'm in complete 147% agreement, because it's left to your own devices, isn't it? It's left to your own imagination. I think I said this with the guys on the Spy Hards podcast, where when you've got depictions of violence, if it's left to your imagination, that's more horrific than actually seeing the violence. I think I mentioned that as well with you, Commodore, on our episode of Tanagra. The eye, yeah, absolutely. And I like the comedy of swearing that's beeped out, particularly in Star Trek. It just kind of works because I'm not the biggest fan of swearing in Star Trek, and just kind of beeping out just seems like a nice compromise, really. But the violence, I came into Lower Decks expecting a mainly adult comedy. So I was expecting the humor to be a bit raunchier, for there to be more kind of violence, on par with Rick and Morty, because, the thing is, we keep saying Rick and Morty, we keep kind of comparing it to that show. for good reason, because Mike McMahon worked on that show, has been massively influenced by the people that created that show. It just kind of goes without saying. And I think that they really kind of nailed it this week. I mean, it's the most Rick and Morty-esque they've got, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I really, really enjoyed it. Let's talk about Boimler Mariner. No, before we get there, did you guys literally 2 seconds into the episode freak out? Did you nerd out over a certain guest star? Caleb, have you got it?
It wasn't, well, there was a mention of a particular guest star who we all know is coming in a future episode, but
not that one.
I know who it is.
Stevie Lee, do you know who it is?
I don't.
I share a
I feel like
characteristic.
you know what? Now I feel like I'm like the total chick of the group. I'm gonna get. It's like, okay, you know what? You're out. Get out.
No, it's Kate. It's Kate. I just realized that you have a really, really good poker face. Commodore's gonna get this. Go on. Who was it? Who did we freak out and mark out about?
J.G. Hertzler.
Yeah.
With an eye patch as well. As was it a Duraki?
Drukmani.
Yeah. Drukmani. There we go. The moment he opened his mouth, I was like, that's JG Hertzler. That's cool. He's actually the first Trek alum to appear in Lower Decks officially. So a cool little thing to kind of point out there. I got so happy. It was just like, oh yes, because Lower Decks. I mean, I kind of want Lower Decks to be like the WCW of Star Trek. I want all of the actors who have performed in past shows to just go and lend their voice to Lower Decks at some point. It has to be done.
Well, that's it, because anyone who is still canonically alive, they can write a part for them easily. Sure, we name-dropped, obviously, spoiler, we name-dropped the Titan, so we know that's flying around at this point. Admiral Janeway is probably sitting there somewhere dreaming up new ways to meet the Borg. You have, obviously, we've been to DS9, kinda. And, yeah, just, stop teasing us and just give us what we want, unless they're going to overload us and say the last episode is like, oh, we're just going to fly back to Starbase. There goes Voyager, and there goes the Titan, and look, the Aventine for the crack as well.
See, I quite like what they're doing, though. I mean, and again, this has been another thing that we seem to mention every single week. What I mention every week is just the references, the constant kind of barrage of references. They've really found their groove now. They found their groove a few weeks ago. The references just feel natural at this point, and they never really feel shoehorned in. I even like the captain's yacht joke with the tribble on the key ring. I was just like, that's funny. That's a good joke. And it doesn't feel particularly forced at this point. I will say that perhaps my expectations got the best of me. As soon as they started talking about Titan, I was like, there has to be a Jonathan Frakes, at least a voice cameo. I mean, off screen, maybe.
I felt the same way. I was saying the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, are we going to get Frakes? Oh my God.
I was a little disappointed that we didn't see it. But again, they might be holding off things. And, as we saw on Star Trek Day with the Lower Decks panel, I mean, Commodore and I didn't hear much of it because we were just getting drunk and being silly, but they announced
not a choice.
They announced that Q was making an appearance. Now, here's the one thing that I'm going to say, and I really want to get your thoughts on it. I mentioned this a few weeks ago about the idea of the Cerritos. The Cerritos is supposed to be a ship that no one cares about. Why would you go to the Cerritos? It's in the back end of the fleet. No one cares about it. No one gives a shit. It's so unimportant. Why is Q there? Now, I would probably write the joke of being that Q, got confused. Q got drunk on Continuum juice or something like that and thought he was going to the Enterprise, but accidentally got the ship wrong and ended up on the Cerritos or something like that. That's kind of how I would write it.
Well, what I was thinking is that they've name dropped him 2 episodes in a row now. Is it, easily you could just go like, I am here. What do you want?
Yes. Yeah.
Or it's a number thing. You say Q X amount of times, and he just 47
say it 5 times in the mirror.
No, 47 times, and Q
I was
appears.
gonna say, yeah. Like you see its name in a dark room, and all of a sudden you go, and you're like, oh no.
So That would be a good workaround, but yeah, it's just, you know, the thing that I've always kind of wanted long before this show aired was that Lower Decks shouldn't be coming anywhere near the heroes of Star Trek, and if you do have them, you know, tease like a Gorn or something, and they're running to the transporter room with a mop and bucket because, you know, they just had to shoot a Gorn or something like that, but you never see the Gorn, and then you can have recurring jokes like, oh, Q was here, oh, did I miss him, you know, and then Boimler would be really, really upset. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think we're going to have Q and John Delancey in all of his glory. He did say, though, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, Mike McMahon did say, or whoever on the panel did say, that John Delancey and Q is a very brief appearance.
It's not going to... Well, now, obviously, it could have been just to tease or throw us off, but yeah, my understanding of that was we'll either get a 2-second cold open where we're sent on a mission, or it'll be like that, a gag at the end. What I don't want it to be is I don't want it to be a cliffhanger season finale. Mostly because we know he's coming, so that would now not be a good cliffhanger. But also, it's like, if you're going to give us a legacy actor, give us one that we can play with. You know, give us a Nepenthe as opposed to I'm still reeling from the arrival of 1701 at the end of season 1 of Discovery. I was like, what do you mean I have to wait a year?
See, I actually remember a rumor, and it was going around for a while, and I don't think it was one of the rumors on 4chan or anything like that, but it was a rumor that Picard was actually going to end with Q just appearing on the La Sorrentine de Flembla, and there we go. Need to work on my Spanish, but yeah, Q would just kind of appear, and we'd go, and then that would just be it. But they've obviously not done that.
Yes.
So if Q does show up and it's a cliffhanger, I'm not going to be surprised, and you're going to be disappointed, Sean. But you do mention one thing, and I do want to use that as a perfect segue. Once again, guys, thank you very much for joining us on this live stream. Botrek got some really, really good comments there. Fathery, hello. We've already said the Lower Deck Season 1 is better than TOS Season 1. You know, and Rashid, thank you very much for joining us. Peter, thank you for joining us. Sean, you mentioned the cold open, and I want to talk about this week's cold open, engine noises. I want to go around the room, and I want to get your best engine noise. Stevie Lee, take it away.
Oh shit. Oh my god. Thanks for putting me on the spot.
You're welcome.
I guess
Caleb, go. Bit high pitched, that bit Voyager-esque. Commodore.
Ooh.
It's the Harley Davidson of spaceships.
Oh, I think you need to change the Constellation's muffler on that one.
Sean. Right, now all of us, all five, 3, 2, 1. There we go. We now just broken YouTube. Fantastic. Thank you very much,
now
guys.
understand Ransom's reaction.
Yeah.
What, evil cult, what is going on here? Give me an explanation.
There's a comment in the chat about the TNG warp core noise to study for 12 hours too. I actually used that exact thing yesterday. I had a class I was working all day on, and that episode gave me the idea. I was like, all right, warp core noises, let's do it.
There is
and then because we've been going through Voyager over here, when they mentioned Voyager, I'm like, oh my god, I never thought about the sound of Voyager's warp core. I need to pay attention so I can do it.
So hopefully that's kind of added in there as perhaps a piece of bait for Netflix to go, well, let's pick up Lower Decks, and then everybody's going to want to go and stream these respective shows to compare the ambience. There we go. Genius move. Whoever put it in there.
You know, lad, I have a particular fondness to talk about the look of warp cores. We never really talked about the sound. Voyager by far has the most beautiful warp core. I'm just saying, but I'm going to have to pay attention to what that beauty sounds like now.
It's
weird. It's after 9:30. We can talk about our kinks.
Yeah, we. I can literally just imagine like the opening shots of Voyager's engineering, and Dan's like, yeah. Show me all of it. Yeah, come on.
This is the captain. Take us to warp. Oh, I'm not ready.
How's your intermix, baby?
I'll give you a bio-neural gel.
I need to change the dilithium chamber.
Oh, jeez.
Right. Well, let's bring this back to. I mean, it's fine. This is Lower Decks. We can muck around. As soon as we get to Discovery, we have to be like completely straight faced, though.
That's right.
No joking.
Except about Grunge the cat.
No. I'm even taking that seriously. Like, we can't joke about anything.
Grunge is very serious.
All right. But yeah, no.
Cats are serious business. I mean,
Grudge the cat is going to murder like 5 people. You don't know that?
he's the one who's going to tear off Bajoran heads in episode 1. Sean?
He's Badgie.
Oh, not Grudgy.
Well, some say that Grunge was actually the one that scratched Nick Fury's eye out. So I have that on good authority. 4chan once again.
My God. So
It's actually a terribly reincarnated Spock.
Guys, let's talk about Boimler and Mariner. We haven't really talked about them enough so far. They kind of have the, it's the B plot for me, really, but they deal with Fletcher, who turns out to be, perhaps even more incompetent than they are. The lowest of the low decks, but he's introduced as this kind of jock character, not the brightest guy in the world, but he attempts to make himself bright by plugging one of the cores onto his head. I absolutely love the concept. I love the creation that we get as a result. What did you guys think of this aspect of the show? Sean, what were your thoughts on this part of the episode?
I love it. It's because it's such a callback to Barclay, the nth degree. And I thought, like, one of the great things about this series is that the most random things are being called back to, and it's cool. It mixes everything in together. But I thought it was great because your man is a dumbass. But he seems to be quite obviously a dumbass. So when he says, "Don't worry, guys, I look after this. You go to the dance," that's on them. If they don't know at this stage how thick this fella is, I mean, although a choo-choo dance does sound pretty cool.
But Sean, then they went
When they
with
added
the third too. They hit. Oh, Stevie.
Oh, come
Then
on.
they hit the third
Come
chew.
on. Commodore, no. I was going to bring up the third chew, okay?
That's choo-choo-choo.
My heart.
But yeah, I mean, guys, let's kind of open this up a little bit more. What about Terminal Provocations is going to be, what are you going to remember most about this episode? What is the legacy of Terminal Provocations? Caleb, what is this episode? If you were to distill it, I think I'd probably know what the answer is going to be here. What's the biggest takeaway from this episode?
It's so tough. I mean, obviously everyone's going to remember Badgie. Like, I already bought the shirt the next morning. Like, I
is there a shirt already?
There is a shirt already, and it's part of that subscription package. I didn't do the subscription, but they do sell them weekly. So if you want one, you got to get it before Thursday.
That's how they get
you. That's where this one's from. So that's where this one's from. They're not making this one anymore. So that's where
well played, subscription people. Well played. Dan, help us out here.
Whenever you want.
Yeah, there you go.
but honestly, besides Badgie being the probably more memorable part, like we said earlier, the groundwork we lay with Mariner's character here, I think, is going to be a really good springboard for the back half of the season, because it does mean she's accountable for things, which we kind of didn't get that in the first half. And it'll be interesting if they revisit the whole relationship with Captain Freeman, her mother, now that she is accountable. And I have a feeling that one of our 4 characters may get transferred off the ship at the end of the season.
Speculation as to who it might be?
No speculation yet. I just think it's gonna shake things up a little bit.
What do we think about Caleb's prediction here, Sean?
Well, I mean, I really hope that it's not Tendi, but that's the first name that came to mind. Because you can't lose Rutherford, because I'll be upset. And then Boimler and Mariner are obviously, like, they're the central duo of the show. And they've already technically teased transferring Mariner away by promoting her, a bit like Glenn in The Walking Dead. Don't tease it and do it again, because that's just silly. But like, don't get me wrong, I hope they don't transfer anyone off. I like where we're now getting to with this group. But just really quick, just what it comes into my head. Do we all remember the beautiful moment where Shrax kisses Dr. Tiana and she definitely kisses him back? That was a beautiful moment. I was like, oh, there's other stuff going on this ship that we've got to see as well.
I mean, he got a combination of kiss, cat, fur, and nacho cheese. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, the Bajorans are a weird bunch.
Can't confirm that it is a real pain to get nacho cheese out of this fur with a sonic shower.
I wouldn't know. Like, I'm the only one here without facial hair. So just
your shaving job is very good, Stevie. Will you tell us what razor you use? Because mine's not that good.
Smooth as an android's behind.
A laser. Thank you. It's the laser from the Warp Core. I stole it, and instead of putting it on my head, I just put it on my face.
It's been one of the stranger chats I've been a part of, but I'm here for it.
I am here for it. What do we reckon about the potential for Badgie to come back and to kind of become Lower Decks' Mr. Poopy Butthole?
I think it's going to happen. I mean, more or less, like you said, it could be that same kind of character, but it also is the Moriarty of Holodecks, right? You know,
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I think he'll come back. I don't know if we'll get him this season, but I think it'll definitely be a recurring character. How can you not? It was a great time, but it'd be cool if they twisted it a little bit. So like displaying different emotions that Badgie has. This time he was very angry. Maybe there's like a time they deal with like with Badgie and depression or something like that, you know, and just go through like a bunch of different emotions of Badgie, and that'd be a cool way to spin it.
I think Badgie can,
and Rutherford can be like the counselor. You know, it's like he's so focused on engineering. He's so focused on technology and putting pieces together. He may not have that kind of experience, dealing with emotional engineering, for lack of a better word. So now he's like, oh man, how can I handle this? And maybe he calls in, Mariner, for instance. He calls her in, because she's pretty good at getting out of tough situations like that. So, but I think maybe she might exacerbate the situation. So maybe that would be when Tendi can step up and go, hey, I get you're sad. Sometimes I feel sad. And, maybe they can have like a moment where, oh, everything's fine. And then Boimler says something dumb, and then it, just F's it up again.
Maybe Rutherford could just snap his neck again. I love the physics of snapping a Delta's neck. It was such a Shakespearean tragedy ending, father, my child. Although, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Best line of the episode as he's cradling Badgie and he's so cold. He goes, I'm gonna cut off your flute.
Yeah, I definitely think that we should get Badgie again. I mean, one of the things that Stevie and Caleb and I were talking about before we came on air, it'd be good to get your thoughts on it, guys, was the potential for, I mean, we've already seen it with the t-shirt. Why am I calling him Bagsy? Help me out here. Badgie.
Banksy.
Banksy.
Thanks again.
It's just very, very.
That has the potential to be really messed up, but I'm here for it. I really want to see.
Badgie has the potential to really unlock some massive dollars for CBS. Here's another one. Here's another game that I want to play. Guys, on the spot, pitch me the best Badgie merch that you can think of. Sean, take it away.
Badgie plush cuddles, and every time you cuddle him, it goes, hi, how can I help you? And then you cuddle him again, and it goes, fun fact, I'm going to wear your skin.
Love
Can
it.
I teach you a lesson?
Commodore?
Keychains, specifically because when I was 16 or 17 years old, I had a 7-Up Spot was their mascot then. It was a little animated anthropomorphic Spot off the can of 7-Up, arms and legs and sunglasses. And I had a keychain. So I think of Badgie. I think of that. I think of a keychain. So Badgie in my pocket.
Caleb.
Going for my flute.
Caleb, Badgie merchandise. Impress me.
So this is going to be a spinoff of the TNG Bluetooth communicator, but it's going to be one of those. And when you press it, instead of, saying 2 to beam up, it's just Badgie quotes for Dave.
Just cursing you. I love it. Stevie Lee?
Kind of going off of what the Commodore, what the Commodore was saying. What I would do is like pins of Badgie, they look really cute, but they're like with the holograms, and you shift them. Like 1 minute he's like one angle he's smiling, the next minute he's angry, and you just kind of go back and forth like that for a couple hours. Amuse your cat or something like that.
Somebody tell Lou at Fansets to get on that. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
There we
Lou,
go.
Keep an eye on Trek Lads merch store next week.
Well, CBS, we just made you $1 million, straight up.
Yeah, right?
Listen to this.
Yeah, where's the residuals? Come on.
There we go. We want royalties. We at least want some equity in CBS. But I like Sean's idea. I like the idea of and kind of spinning it off of the Krusty doll from The Simpsons. Having your Badgie set to evil.
Here's your problem.
He's set to evil.
Yes.
And Sean, the only way you can turn Badgie off once you've turned him on is to snap the plushie. How dark.
We've been ruined by this episode. Ruined. God, you'd never catch this kind of a thing on the original series. How many red shirts died?
Disco was Dark Trek.
Absolutely.
Or TNG conspiracy.
I always wanted to turn that. I always wanted to turn that visual into like a beer can holder. You can literally like rest your beer in the hollowed carcass of Remick, and yeah. I mean, come on, CBS, listen. We've got some good merchandise ideas here. Anyway, guys, we're in the last 10 minutes now. It's pretty much the wrap up time. We've got 4 guests here today, so we essentially need to do some go home for a longer period of time. Stevie Lee, what were your overall thoughts on this episode? What did you enjoy the most, and what would you give this episode out of 5 stars?
I give it 4.5 out of 5, just taking off that little bit for the violence, but that's just me. I really loved Mariner's message. That's what stuck with me with this episode was, we are Starfleet, we're a team, we are together. I really love that. That really resonated with me. That was my take home. And also, we need more Dr. Tana. We need the doctor more. I'm sorry. I want her to be in a sass off with McCoy and the EMH. That's going to be epic. Mark my words. That's going to
It is interesting because
we can at least get Picardo to do it, and maybe we could get like Carl Urban to, as a quick cameo or something. But
my God,
I'm sorry. That would be amazing.
Yep. I love it. I do think that we are going to get a Tiana episode, or at least a bigger moment. I do think that so far, 6 episodes in, we've had almost everybody, whether it's Lower Decks or the senior crew, have at least one moment to shine. Tiana is lacking that at the moment. We've got more episodes to come. I'm sure we're going to get that moment. She seems to be the least fleshed out. It's going to happen. I'm sure it is, Stevie. Cool. So 4.5 stars for you. Caleb, closing remarks for Terminal Provocations and a rating out of 5, sir.
All right. So I think I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed the laughs. I enjoyed Badgie and the whole arc with Rutherford and Tendi. The plot with Mariner, Boimler, and Fletcher didn't really stick a whole lot for me. I understand the whole callback to Barclay, as Sean said, but the way they kind of dealt with it in the end, I don't know. I didn't really feel like they did good by Fletcher. Obviously he's a dunce and needs some help, but their way of dealing with it was transferring off the ship, and then the guy gets fired at the end. Like,
that could be like standard Starfleet protocol, though. If somebody is really annoying you, you promote him and kick him off your ship. Make him somebody else's problem. I mean,
but then you're still not.
Like I said, we don't know that Starfleet is perfect. Starfleet has some skeletons in the closet.
Right. And I don't know, I'm a leader in my department. So my thing is, when people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's all about retraining and, rehabilitation. Re-education, right. And I didn't feel like we get any re-education for Fletcher. It was just kind of like, yeah, bye. So that part didn't really stick for me, but overall I really enjoyed the episode, and I thought what it did for Mariner's character was great too.
Commodore, what were your thoughts, final remarks on this episode? What would you give it out of 5, sir?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I really did enjoy it. It felt even more comfortable than last week's episode. I liked how Mariner clarified herself. It made me feel like that she's not interested in promotion because she really just wants to work in Starfleet. And she doesn't want to go anywhere and be anything because of who her parents are. And she knows that she can earn it on her own, but that's not what she wants. She wants to be the person who scrubs carbon off of slightly harder carbon. That's where her groove is, I think. But for her to say, hey, I only ignore the rules that don't make sense. And, I only do the work that really counts. Then, I can identify with that really well. Boimler didn't really get a whole lot to do this episode, which is fine. We got a lot out of him last week. And then I agree, of course, as someone who has a Cation science officer, I really do appreciate all the Cation moments that we can get. So more Dr. Tiana. And if there's a Shack ship going behind the scenes, let's see it, baby. Let's go. Little interspecies love on Star Trek. We've not quite seen it to that degree, I don't think, with, fur. So bring it.
Sean, same closing thoughts from your perspective, sir.
Okay, I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to do some teamwork. I'm going to take the 2.5 points that Stevie and Commodore left off and the full point Caleb. I'm giving this a 7. I love this episode. I bloody love this episode. And, because I was sitting there, I've watched it a few times because, come on, haven't we all? And I just thought genuinely funny, but not to the point of it was just joke after joke after joke. Really good. I would say it goes so far as to say A, B, and C plot. C being just for in time. C being the shortest, being the bridge crew. B definitely being Boimler and Mariner, and the A plot. Finally, which is what I've wanted all season, is Rutherford and Tendi. Badgie, I thought I was going to hate him that when he appeared at the start, and then it was just, no, you got me. It was hilarious. And just so many little character moments that just really paid off for me. Also, we haven't said it yet, but I love the nice TOS callbacks as well, because it didn't hit you over the head with it, but you had the USS Antares, or the Antares class in the thing. Also, I totally missed this on first watch, but on my second one, evasive Sulu Alpha.
Sulu Alpha. And oh, come on!
I look, and just Jax, I just want to get him, like, I don't know, a Gorn for his birthday so he can just fight for the whole day or something.
He's not blown anything up yet, has he? I reckon in the finale he's going to be given the ability to blow something up, and he's going to go, yes! And it's just going to be this great moment.
He's channeling some Malcolm Reed.
I was really upset that when they said Sulu Alpha, they didn't just start chucking teacups at the Dusmani. Like, come on.
or fencing.
Yeah, send someone out to start fencing with them. Yeah.
I love it. Well, I'll probably, I'm going to be the downer in the room. I'm probably going to give this 3.5 out of 5. I think that it's a good episode. It's the Mariner and Boimler story. That component didn't really, it's not going to live long in the memory. The Badgie is an instant icon, really good. But you'd like to see a little bit more kind of weight to that. But it's all about Shax this week for me. The love Shax, as Bocek kindly pointed out. Perfect. Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Join me for this week's episode of Let's Talk About Lower Decks Terminal Provocations. To you who have joined us during this fairly well-behaved panel. No, it's not. It's been a nightmare, but it's been great. Thank you very much for joining. If you're watching this on replay, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stevie Lee, where can you be found on the internet?
The most most common place you can find me is on my Twitter. It's at Hey Stevie Lee. If you can go there, you can go to my links. You can see my art on Etsy at Stevie Lee Art. You can see it on DeviantArt. Come check me out.
Highly recommended. A super talented artist is Stevie Lee. Go and check her out. Caleb, where can you be found, sir?
Right here on Twitter at Rogue Moog.
It's one of the best handles on Twitter for sure. Commodore, where can you be found?
Oh, yeah. First of all, I'd just like to say that a terminal edict is a completely different episode. That would have been a lot of death, I think.
That's what King
running around with a time. Return.
Yeah.
First day is the Undertaker. Lots of death. Yeah.
That's right. You said Undertaker. Yeah. But you can find me on Twitter and from there all through other points in subspace at Dan Decker, DanDeckr. Find me, follow me. I follow you back.
Awesome. Finally, Sean, where can you be found?
I can be found lots of places. I'm a slut online, so you can catch me on Twitter. Didn't think that went through. Twitter at Sean Ferrick. You can catch. I have a website, seanferrick.wordpress.com. I catch me on What Culture as well, where I'm usually writing about something Trek related.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me, and thank you for joining us for this panel. Let's talk about Lower Decks. We will see you next week for next week's episode, which I believe now actually has a name. Much Ado About Boimler. We'll see you next week with another panel. Until then, everyone, stay happy, stay safe, stay well. See you next week. Until then, live long and prosper. Whoop, whoop, whoop.